Hi, it's Therese and it's time to Gimme5 with Penny Blkack. Today I have 5 same but different designs and it's time for a quick and easy Critter Christmas. So I've got 2 really cute stamp sets and they're called Getting Ready and Gather Around, and I'm also going to be using the paper pad which is called Festive and Frosty, and this is where I'm getting my colour inspiration from. So in true production line style, what I'm doing is each section of the card at once, if that makes sense. So I've die cut 5 antique frames, and this is like a nesting set of frames, and they're really funky sort of shape on the outside. I'm stamping out all the images, and I'm using my Misty for this because I'm using the jet black archival ink, and I find that sometimes if I don't get a good impression, at least I can restamp the images. I'm also using the corner in the Misty just to pop the image out a little bit further. I have some normal cardstock. This is not watercolor cardstock, and I've done this before, it probably would have been easier to use either a watercolor cardstock or something that is a little bit more water resistant. I didn't have a problem with the cardstock pilling, but I did have to be very careful about how much water I added, and it would have taken that stress away had I thought ahead. So anyway, I am doing some colouring with my Inktense pencils. Initially I started by actually adding the pencil direct to the cardstock and a couple of different colours because I knew that I couldn't add too much water. I think the main reason why I didn't actually die cut my frames with watercolour cardstock was because I know that I'm going to have some white showing on the back of my card, and I don't like it when there's a difference between the 2 different cardstocks, because even though I often use the Bristol Strathmore paper pad, it is a very bright white, but it's still not as bright as the white cardstock that I use every day. Alright, so I've layered my colours. I'm working in sections, so I'm colouring all the brown sections at once, coming in with some water from my brush, and I am wiping it off to the side just on the piece of paper behind it, because like I said, I don't want too much water on my cardstock, and that just gives me a bit better control. I found that by picking up the colour direct from the pencil lead actually worked much better this way. I had more control over the amount of ink that I was laying down, and also the amount of water that I was adding. As is with watercolour cardstock, or watercolouring I should say, you can't colour directly beside a colour that's wet, although this won't take very long to dry, because the colours can actually bleed into each other. So I am having to sort of work in sections that aren't just freshly coloured, so that is a little bit limiting in itself. One way to make this process a little bit quicker would be to maybe just colour with some pencils, then you wouldn't have any drying time at all, and that would make these cards even quicker to put together. Although, to be honest, they really didn't take very long at all. I just love the vivid colours of the Inktense pencils, and it's been a little while since I've used them, and I thought it'd be fun to have that almost that sort of washed out look on these cute critter images. Alright, I'm going to leave you with the colouring now. I do add some shading. You'll see a little bit of that with neutral grey, and I find that means that I have to add less layers, and really does help add depth to my images, and also to ground them as well. Alright, I'll be back when the colouring's done. So I've allowed the images to dry, and now I want to add some sparkle because it is Christmas and you need sparkle on Christmas. So I'm using my quickie glue pen and some really fine Prisma glitter, and I don't know, I have had this container of Prisma glitter for years. I'm not lying, for absolute years. And it just does not want to give up the ghost. It just goes such a long way. I don't like to add too much. I just like it to be kind of subtle. So that's why I really like using the quickie glue pen, because it's a nice fine pen tip and it just adds, you can almost just see it when it's in the sunlight. I have got some glossy accents too. Now, I just want to say, if you want to make these cards even quicker, do not use glossy accents. Or do it at the very end. I didn't want to. I don't know why. I wanted to do it now. Anyway, I added it, and then you definitely have to set these panels aside to dry properly before you add them to the cards. But you don't need to do this step. Alright, so I've got my paper pad pieces. I've chosen 5 different patterns to go with each little panel that I've created. I'm struggling with this paper trimmer today. Every time I try and cut, I'm actually shifting the paper. I've got my hand all over it and I'm still shifting the paper. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Anyway, please let me know. And then I'm just using my ATG adhesive and adding the cardstock design paper to the cardstock to adding the design paper panels directly to the front of my cards. I've got both portrait and landscape cards, and that just gives you that different design. Even though they're all basically the same layout, you're still just getting that a different look because you're using different colors, different images, and different design papers. It's Christmas, so twine made it into these cards as well. Because they are a very clean and simple card, it's a really easy add to get that real homemade feel. And I've just chosen colours that I thought would match both the cards, the design paper and the panels that I created. And if you didn't have different colour twines, it would be easy just to use like a neutral kind of craft coloured twine. That goes with anything, or even a white one. I think I made a practice at tying bows. I'll get there in the end. The sentiments are from the same stamp set, but I also added a couple that are from the Holiday Snippets stamp set, and I really didn't think about these too much before I created my designs. I just figured I'd sort it out after. And that's one of the great things, especially with the Holiday Snippets stamp set, is they're quite a small sentiment. So if you are like me and you don't plan your cards very well, one of the snippets is always going to fit. It's perfect. So I've just white heat embossed these on some scraps of cardstock, and then I'll just cut them down. Just use my paper trimmer to do that. Safer than my guillotine. Look at these scraps. Look at these scraps. These are fun foam scraps. I have a stack of them and I thought I want to use them up. I've been not hoarding them. I just sort of put them in a bag, and yes, I do use my scraps of fun foam, but I need to use them more, obviously. So what I've done is add some ATG to each of the panels, add the scraps of fun foam, and then attaching each panel to the front of the card using some score tape. I do like the hold that score tape gives on the foam rather than the ATG, and it's just easier for me to work out where to put each little panel that way. Then all that's left to do is pop up my sentiments. If you want to make these cards even quicker, stamp the sentiment direct on the panel, then you don't have to do this extra step. How quick and easy was this? And cute too, cute. Penny Blkack Critters, I love them. Alright, so that's my finished cards for today. And I just want to say thanks for stopping by. I'll link everything in the YouTube description below. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye. bye.